Halloween just around the corner. It's looking more and more like a horror movie for Democrats, and they've already begun lashing out at everyone but themselves for the coming epic defeat, which makes sense when you consider they won't take any responsibility for the state of the country right now. Why would they? Let's be honest. The real debate now is not whether or not the Republicans are going to win the argument on November 8th. The Democrats have already lost the argument over how they are handling the economy, inflation, the border, crime, and so much more, pretty much everything else. So the question has now shifted from whether or not the Republicans are going to win, but how big that win is going to be and how big the political earthquake will be afterwards. Now, it seems to me that my call of 35 or more House seats going to the Republicans and 2 to 5 Senate seats being picked up by the GOP was solid and spot on, and that was months ago. And now it looks like at the momentum and the shift that's happening right now, it's a bright red Republican support, and it's big. It seems like the Democrats all know this because, as I said, they're lashing out. This time at Latinos, of course. You know, the group of people the First Lady called breakfast tacos or something like that. Gee, I wonder why they're shifting away from the Democrat Party. They're so sensitive. For example, NBC News now reporting that Governor Ron DeSantis could become the first Republican candidate for governor to win the heavily Latino Miami-Dade County in 20 years. And that's because Floridians know DeSantis is doing a great job. But Atlantic contributing writer and dedicated woke leftist Jamil Hill, she says it's for an entirely different reason. Tweeted this out. That proximity to whiteness is a real thing. That proximity to whiteness is a real thing. Also reminds me of an adage I heard a long time ago about how the oppressed begin to take on the traits of the oppressor. So, in the mind, the very small mind of leftists, in their worldview, it's just a form of Stockholm syndrome. Maybe Latinos are just becoming too white, for wanting groceries they can afford or be able to fill their tank with gas and other racist, crazy things like that. And this follows after MSNBC's Tiffany Cross, who said this about black men crossing over to the Republican Party. Listen.
I will say, a lot of black men sometimes feel like they're ignored or they're put down, particularly sometimes even by black women in the media. So this is not that. But I do hear Roland's point that felt ignored. But you feel ignored and then you go over to the other side. The oppressed feel oppressed. So then you go and try to align with the oppressor. So I'm not putting black men down, but sometimes it's like, well, some of you Kevin Samuels following Tariq Nasheed quoting people, please look at the truth and see what's happening and get in line with some of the black women. Is majority, like he said, vote Democrat, but that margin of people who can be plucked away from your people and go advance policies that harm your people, I just don't understand that.
Now, again, I don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome or just abject stupidity. You can decide. I just think people are waking up and seeing that voting Democrat does nothing to change their quality of life at all. If anything, it makes their quality of life worse. So Americans of all shapes, sizes, and yes, colors are just not falling for that BS anymore. But, of course, all the left can do is blame racism for minorities voting Republican. It's all internalized whiteness, you see, or in the case of women, internalized misogyny, or maybe it's both. And without the minority vote, the Democrats are done as a national party. And that, my friends, is what we're witnessing.